Hello. Happy to be here. My name is Verena. I'm one of the two founders of Kitchen Stories. And I am going to share a little bit of my and our story with you tonight. And first of all, I wanted to ask, who wants to start a startup? Most of you, which is good. I didn't really know that I wanted to start a startup. I always knew what I didn't want to do. So I studied business, I did internships, and whenever I did an internship at Vodafone, Commerzbank, I always knew, oh my God, if my studies are going to end now, I don't want to work. And then, luckily, we had the idea for Kitchen Stories, so I didn't end up working in a corporate. And how we got to that, I will tell you in a second. So we already saw that some of you know Kitchen Stories, which is good. For all of the others, we have a little bit of a video to show you what we are doing. But one question before we get started. Who likes to cook? Okay, who's not good at cooking? Okay, we are for both of you groups, which is good because I'm actually the use case of Kitchen Stories. I like to cook, but I'm not that talented, and now I'm getting better and better every day, hopefully, whenever I get to cook. So let's first start with a little bit of a video of what we do. Now it's frozen. Yes, as you have seen, we do food, we do videos. We focus on 3 USPs. One is content, so we do recipes that actually are appealing. We have videos, but we don't really work with voiceovers, so our videos are a little bit like an inspiration. So it takes you 2 to 3 minutes, and you can watch the video, and once you start cooking, you have step-by-step photos, you have a shopping list, and everything optimized for like a mobile or an experience anywhere. Then another USP is actually the usability. So it's easy to use, anybody understands, and anyone can cook. And lastly, design. So as you've seen, it doesn't really look girly or really male. It's like pretty much neutral, clean, and appealing to a lot of different people. And these USPs are really hard to pitch to an investor. Because if you go and tell an investor that you are going to build a really, really good cooking app, they don't want to see the Excel sheet, because you can't really see those soft, product-driven USPs in an Excel sheet. So it made it really hard in the beginning to pitch Kitchen Stories to any investor. But all of the content that you are seeing, which is a second hard pitch, is produced by us. So content, in terms of a business model, it's like really expensive. Video production is a lot of work. So there's already 2 things that make it hard to pitch Kitchen Stories as a business model. But we managed, up until today, to generate more than 16 million downloads, and we haven't spent a single dollar in marketing yet. This is pretty unusual, because if I want you, for example, to download my app, I need to spend money. Where do I do it? Maybe on Facebook, Spiegel Online, now it's the World Cup, maybe it's OneFootball, Kicker, wherever. And it normally costs around 1 to 3 euros to spend on one install. And in marketing terms, you call that CPI, cost per install. So this would have been a lot of money if we needed to buy all of these downloads. We didn't. Question is why? Well, my background is business. So I studied at a really small business school near Koblenz. It's called WHU. A lot of people in Berlin or out of the Rocket Internet context know WHU. The Zalando founders, Rocket Internet people, they all studied there. And this was actually the first time I learned what a startup was about. Because I did my bachelor's in Trier, which is my hometown. It's close to Luxembourg in France, a really international city. And nobody knew what a startup was, so people went into banking. So I did my internships in banking. And I only met my co-founder at WHU. And we were writing our master thesis. And we were having some beers on a Friday night. And my co-founder, she was looking into a lot of food ideas. She wanted to start a company. And she said she wants to start a restaurant business. And a friend of us said, why don't you do a burrito chain? Do you guys know Chipotle? Yeah, there's no Chipotle in Germany. And I studied in Nashville, Tennessee, and I said, if you do Chipotle, if you do burritos, I will be in. So we just moved to Berlin because she said, let's just do a restaurant. We start a company around that. And we moved to Berlin, and we wanted to start our own restaurant business. I studied in Nashville, Tennessee. I fell in love with Tex-Mex food. We didn't have that in Germany. We didn't do any research, nothing. We just moved to Berlin, and we wanted to start a restaurant chain. After 1 month, we realized the restaurant business is pretty shitty. Hard to scale. You need a lot of money. You need a really good location. In order to get the location, you need the funding. My co-founder, she didn't like Mexican food. And we were kind of screwed after 2 months. And we said, well, let's not do the burrito business. Let's do a different idea. Because I think working on an idea together was really helpful for us because we are friends. If you want to start a company together with a friend, you do not know if it works out on a working relation business side. So we kind of ticked that off. It worked out. We wanted to start a company. We didn't have an idea. Our parents were getting nervous. So what did we do? We was like, okay, we studied business. What did we learn at school? Let's do market research. What are industries? What are kind of business models that we could copy? We looked into healthcare. We looked into fashion. And we evaluated business models. However, we never got excited. And we were like having that Gründer-WG, so we had like a shared apartment, and we're getting a little bit frustrated, and Menting, my co-founder, she was always watching cooking shows at night on the sofa. YouTube-based testimonials from the US, like Laura Vitale, Sarah Carey, and I said, I actually need a video like this in order to cook. And she said, well, I don't really like the usability when I'm cooking on YouTube. YouTube is not for cooking. Like, I don't want to pause and play, and whenever Jamie Oliver is putting like the chicken in the oven, it's never ever that fast. And I told Menting, why don't we do a cooking app that the two of us would want to use? You as a hobby chef, and I'm as a kind of trying to get there person. And we said, good idea, best cooking app out there, that's the idea, now let's work on the pitch deck again. And as we've seen in the beginning, our USPs are really, really hard to pitch. So we're like 24, 25 years old, coming out of business school, going to all of these venture capital funds, and we said, don't you want to invest? And they said, have you ever done an app? Have you ever done a video? Do you know how to develop a recipe? No, no, no. And then I said, well, thank you. We don't want to do this. So 4 months have already passed. Parents were getting more nervous. And then we said, well, we could go and find a job now, or we can try to make it happen. And one lesson that I learned is, if nobody believes in you, you might have a family. For us, it was the FFF round, so friends, family, fools. So everybody who needed to believe in us and not the idea was convinced to invest 25K. So everybody needed 12.5 in order to start a GmbH in Germany. Menting sold her car. I didn't have a car. And then we just started. And this is also what bootstrapping is about. Like in the beginning, I didn't know the word bootstrapping. Bootstrapping is actually, it's like an American expression. You have your boots and you just strap them and you just go. And then we were kind of thinking backwards. How can we make it happen? So we said, we need an MVP, like a minimum viable product, that is convincing everybody out there that we have a reason to be in the market. So we said, let's use the iPad. The iPad is the perfect transition from like a physical offline cookbook to a digital one. We found a student developer on LinkedIn, one that we could afford. We found 2 chefs on LinkedIn, the only ones we found on there, because chefs normally don't work, or they are not on LinkedIn. And we told them, guys, can you please develop 100 recipes? And we test cooked every recipe at home, because we told them we need 20-minute dishes, under 400 calories, baking, cooking with kids. And we said, please develop the recipes. We tested every recipe, and then we took 100 food videos with a small design agency, really professional camera people. Everything needed to be perfect in order to have that opportunity in the market. And then we actually went into a little holiday home outside of Berlin. So this is like an Airbnb place. This is our art director, Ole, taking the food photo. This is me cleaning up the dishes, my co-founder playing the hand model in the recipe videos. Because we couldn't afford a show kitchen in Berlin. It was just too expensive. Like if you don't have any money, you really need to get focused and focused and focused on the most minimum use case. Took us 5 months. We booked that place for 8 days. Didn't work out. It took us like 12 days to do the 100 videos. Normally the large ones do like 1 or 2 a day, so we're like really efficient, really fast. And then we did something that we called a silent launch. So we put Kitchen Stories on the Apple App Store, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we couldn't do a code review. We didn't know if the app actually crashes. We just uploaded it. And then we got an email by Apple. And they said, hey guys, we like your app. And they featured us as one of the best apps. And you can see that here on the iPad. So back in the day, Apple chose one app to be featured up there every Thursday. And you would have that spot for 1 week. And the good thing is, you can't buy the spot. So everybody who opens the App Store actually sees your app. So we had like 60,000 downloads in like a couple of weeks. And then suddenly, all the investors who declined us, basically, they were like, oh, guys, can we invest? And we said, yes, please. Yes. And all of the 16 million downloads, they are coming basically from store relationships to with Google and Apple. So we are not iPad only anymore. We are on the iPad, the iPhone, Apple Watch, Android devices, Amazon Alexa, Apple TV, Android TV, anywhere, like any platform you can imagine. And why did we have an advantage as a startup? If you're a large company, it takes you half a year to change a button. When there's like a new operating system coming out, Apple and Google, they need like showcases showing latest technology. And this is our marketing money, actually, like development and being on platforms like really, really early. And we did have one prominent visitor in our office the other day, actually last year. I don't know if anybody knows him. Yeah, Tim Cook, the Apple CEO, together with my co-founder Menting and our CTO Fabian. He was traveling Europe last year and he stopped by. Why? We don't really know, they don't tell you. But basically, we're everything that Apple wants to promote. Somebody with a little capital, somebody who focuses on like product design, building the best user experience, who uses the Apple App Store as an ecosystem to launch product. And of course, he also cooked and he was flipping the pancake and showing that anyone can cook and Tim Cook can cook. Yes, so what happened next? So we got the first funding, 300,000 seed funding, not a lot of money. We hired 2 people, CTO, Fabian, and an art director, Ole. We were launching Kitchen Stories in German and English simultaneously. Because our videos, they work with like no voiceover, you can easily translate, we speak English, we believe that food is global. So we launched Kitchen Stories in German and English, and we saw a lot of traction from all around the world, like people from Russia, China, everybody downloading the app. So we actually, in our first funding round, and this is also one of my learnings, take the right people on board. Because 2 of our business angels, Verena Pauster and Moritz Hohl, they are really big in mobile and mobile strategy, launching apps, etc. They told us, as an app, you have like a couple of advantages. You have like no logistics, you can be in any country really easily, so be global. And we took 20K and we internationalized our content in 12 languages. So Korean, Spanish, Russian, Italian, French. We didn't do a lot of market research, we just chose like the largest countries, and we had all of the 120 recipes back then translated. Nowadays, it's pretty crazy, but China is our largest market. 40% of our traffic is coming from China. So the bubbles are actually in Chinese, the recipe is in Chinese, because the Chinese customer, they have like a Bosch oven, they don't know how to do a cheesecake or a pizza. They know it from Starbucks, from Pizza Hut, but like having that step-by-step cooking approach just made us go really, really popular in China. And also in terms of how did we have the opportunity to enter the Chinese market. So we told Apple we will be in 10 more languages in 3 months. And then we got a global feature. And then you're not talking about 60,000 downloads, you're talking about 1 million or 2 million downloads. So this basically gave us the first spike in international traction. And we're now focusing on 3 core languages, which is German, English, and Chinese. Money. How do you make money? I think when you bootstrap a company, so Kitchen Stories, first of all, is for free. Nobody needs to pay anything. So please, everyone download. That will be really nice. So in the beginning, we thought we could start a freemium business model. So out of the 100 recipes, 10 were for free, and 90 needed to be purchased. This worked pretty well in Germany and on the iPad. So our average basket was around 8 euros, but then once we launched on the iPhone, once we added more recipes, especially in Southern Europe, nobody wanted to buy recipes anymore. So also with the help of our business angels, we got rid of the in-app purchases. And we said, let's focus on product, let's focus on growth, and then we will find a way to monetize our traffic. However, there's one business model that we've been doing since day one, and we are still doing today, and this is making money out of brand partnerships. So in the very beginning, back to the holiday home, you can imagine that you need pots and pans and knives and products to shoot the videos. So this is Menting, and within the founding team, Menting is doing product, and I'm doing like all the business functions, so finance, sales, HR. So it was my job to call all of our favorite brands, like KitchenAid, Le Creuset, and ask them if they wanted to be part of Kitchen Stories. And they said, how many users? And can you show me a video? And we said, well, guys, we're actually calling you because you should be part of Kitchen Stories. There's no platform yet, we are building it together. And they said, no, because we we didn't only want to get the products, we also wanted them to pay. And they said no again, and I called again, and eventually they said yes, and we made 20K in revenue before launching the app. And why? So we were working with product placements, and we told them, okay, we can't charge you for reach because we don't have any users yet, but we could charge you something called a production subsidiary, because we will just give you a couple of the videos, and video is really expensive to produce, and you can use it for your own marketing channels. So everybody paid like 2,000, 3,000 euros, which is not a lot of money for them. But for us, starting with 25K and making 20K in revenues was like doubling our budget. And out of these pure product placement partnerships, we're even doing more today. Because we found out that, so first of all, I don't like ads. Like interstitials or pre-rolls, mid-rolls, banner ads. They're always disrupting, and they're never like really native. So we told them, we can also create campaigns for you guys, because we know what our user is interested in. We can create the content, and at the end, we have like users on our platform, and we can create insights relating their cooking behavior. And you might see, this is Nespresso, and these are a couple of partners that we're working with. Also Nike, when we did something about sports and nutrition. Because after all, everybody wants to reach a consumer, potentially interested in food, but always in a good moment. So for example, you could do ads on New York Times, which is premium. Might it be a good moment if Donald Trump is doing something, or there's some bad things happening in the world? In German you say positives Werbeumfeld, like it's positive and it's people are premium, they're like a lot of Apple users, and all of the brands, they are looking for new ways of reaching consumers in a digital world, because people don't watch TV anymore. People don't buy a magazine anymore, like it's declining everything. And I have one advantage as well, because we do have a target group that's not, it's not like all females, it's pretty much even. They're like really high in net income, they're like interested in lifestyle stuff, and we offer brands a unique way to reach those users. And also our content, if we create content, reach is not declining after 1 week of a campaign, because the content will stay on Kitchen Stories. So it's like always, it's everything they don't normally do, because if you do something on TV, after 1 week it's gone. If you do something on Kitchen Stories, it will always be available, and traffic and engagement will increase. And I have 2 examples with me today to kind of show you how that looks like. So actually we did a latte macchiato. It's not exciting, but Nespresso found out that people are confused. They don't know how to do the milk, how to do the coffee, so it looks like in a cafe. And we did a little video, it's like 1 minute long, in order to explain how that should work. Because people are also getting lazy, they don't want to read anymore, and people were looking a lot for instructions. So this is a how-to video that we do, how to do a latte macchiato. Really easy, shot in our office, and one of the advantages for brands is that they can use the content also on their website. So here on the left, you can see how Nespresso embedded it, and they, if you scroll down, they have like all the step photos, and they directly link the products within the online shop. And they managed to rank on page 1 on Google search after a couple of weeks for latte macchiato, which is a really, really high traffic keyword, because these days you need good content and video content in order to be also appealing for Google. And then last year we did something completely different with Nespresso. So one approach can be straightforward, educational, how-to content. But then our name is Kitchen Stories. So we also want to tell stories around cooking and inspiration. So we also work together with influencers, and we did a campaign with Nespresso around the cookie cup. This is like a trend in the US where people are baking a cup and you can eat it after drinking your coffee. And we found a pâtissier here in Berlin who actually spotted the cookie cup in New York, and he brought it over to Germany. And we did a whole story around where he found it and how he created it. And then, of course, you can discover the recipe on Kitchen Stories. And this content is completely different. Unfortunately, it's in German, but we'll only have a 20-second peek.
Der Trend des Cookie Cups passt perfekt nach Berlin, weil die Leute hier sehr experimentierfreudig sind und innovative Ideen in der Food-Szene besonders gut ankommen. Ich bin Michael, bin 23 Jahre, aus München. Nach Abstechern in Mailand und Paris hat mich meine Leidenschaft, die Patisserie, nach Berlin gebracht. Gerade in meiner Freizeit habe ich immer schon gerne gebacken und schöne Torten hergestellt. Das wollte ich einfach perfektionieren und dann schien mir einfach das Konditorenhandwerk am nächsten.
Yeah, and this is something that all the brands are now interested in, like in storytelling, and not only like, hey, this is my product, please buy. It's how we did advertisement back in the day, like just doing like a full page in a magazine. It's costing you 20,000 euros. You don't know who actually saw it. You don't know if people just put it in their bins. And this is actually like engaging and creating a story, and really popular these days. Also, everybody wants to do video. Video is really expensive, so they go to the large agencies. And the large agencies, they don't only do food, they do like sports and cars and, I don't know, traveling, something else. So we really, really have an advantage here. However, it's a B2B business model, and scaling doesn't come easy. If I want more revenue, I need more customers. If I have more customers, I need to produce the content. So it's a people business, basically. It's nice and it's okay, and we love what we do, but we also want to find a way where we can have the equation at the end: more users, more revenue. There's no direct correlation yet. I mean, if we have more users, we can of course sell higher priced deals, but until now, not. So last year, after doing the first seed round, we did like a seed extension, we did a Series A. So overall, we've raised like 3 million euros. We were always focused on making money and trying to be as sustainable as we could in order to have enough time to find out how we could actually monetize the company. And last year, we were thinking about, okay, shall we turn the company profitable, which would have been possible, or should we go another big step? So we were like 30 people last year, and we were thinking a lot about this. The future of cooking. I don't know if anybody has bought like a fridge or an oven lately, or any kitchen device. Everything is kind of, there's a lot of technology in there, there's an app for everything, for your toaster, your oven, your fridge, your blender. So everybody wants to be connected. Everybody is talking about Internet of Things, but we don't believe that it makes sense. I don't sit on my couch and turn on my oven, 180 Grad Ober-Unterhitze. Like, it doesn't really make sense. There's no use case. And we see that the food industry or the food sector is being digitized slowly. So you have HelloFresh, Marley Spoon coming into the delivery sector. You have the Amazon Fresh Reves. You have all the home appliance companies. You have the whole trend about understanding nutritional behavior, like Fitbit, quantify yourself, everything is like, food is up and coming. Even look into cafes these days. Like, I mean, people say the barista are like the new DJs, like, there's slowly or fast change happening, but it's not making sense yet. We believe that in order to have a use case in here that's making sense, you need two sides. You need technology. Yes, there's a lot of technology already, but when it comes to cooking, you need also content, like the recipe. For us, smartness in the kitchen only makes sense if it's natural, if it's making your life easier, not harder. And we said we want to be the ones who really, really want to shape that space and be part of how it develops, because what actually makes my life easier is I need a shopping list for 3 recipes next week. I have family coming over. My mom doesn't like onions, and my brother is now doing a vegetarian diet and doesn't like XY. Can you please give me a shopping list so I don't have half of a cucumber left over? And then, of course, if we're cooking, I want to be able to send the recipe to the oven and not select the Spargelprogramm, and it takes me 5 minutes on the oven. And also support people when they are cooking. So how can we divide steps and be finished at the same time? And how can you give me that meal plan according to my sport behavior last week? So there are a lot of use cases that make sense in the future, but everything needs back-end capacity. You need to be able to develop a recipe that's machine readable. So we need to know that a Karotte, Mohrrübe, and Möhre, all 3 words for the German carrot, that they are like the same item, so you can combine it, and everything that a chef is normally doing automatically needs to be able to be translated by a platform, a machine. So you need a lot of APIs, like ways of connecting to these devices, and we had like 1 backend developer. So out of the 30 people, our team is split in developers, it's split in content, and then business people. And we were asking, okay, we can sell 1 more deal in order to hire 1 more developer. This is kind of slow. So we said, we want to raise another funding round. And we also had the impression that all the venture capital funds don't understand our business. So what they want to see is a hockey stick. Like normally, a funding round should last you 16 months, not more than 2 years, because you constantly need to grow, you constantly need to raise more money, you need to show the KPIs. And we knew that cooking and transforming or helping the way people cook in the future, it's a philosophical change. It takes time, and it needs a really, really good product. Otherwise, nobody's going to use it. So we said, why don't we talk to strategic investors? And why don't we try to get somebody on board who can bring more than money on the table? So we wanted to do a structured financing round. We wanted to get like a financial advisor on board and work on it during the course of last summer. And suddenly we had a term sheet on the table. Term sheet is, So it basically says, I want to invest X, and this is the valuation, and I want that kind of shareholder rights. And we had like one term sheet on the table, and we said like, well, we can't take the first offer, so let's at least talk to another 2 or 3 or 4 companies that we already know. And then we suddenly ended up with 4 term sheets on the table, because everybody knew that you kind of need a platform, you need content, and you need technology to make a use case working in that environment. And then we chose Bosch Siemens Hausgeräte to be our strategic investor. And then they said, I don't actually want to sit next to that VC guy in the board meeting anymore, because we have different goals. That guy wants fast and exit and everything, but we want to build something sustainable and long-lasting. And then I said, can't we buy all of the other shares as well? Yes, then we thought a little bit about that, because after 3 funding rounds, we were not majority shareholder anymore. We were like 49%. Didn't really matter, because I know it's like you don't own the majority of your company anymore. It's like kind of emotional. But does anybody have a startup and has an investor already? No, okay. A lot of things changed with the first investor, because you are not self-employed anymore. You need shareholder resolutions. There's like zustimmungspflichtige Geschäfte, like stuff where you need to get an okay. Even if you only give away 2%, you are not the one running the show completely anymore. I mean, everybody is supportive, etc. They are all aligned on creating future value, but as long as you have 25%, you can still say no to stuff and be in the driver's seat. So we said, okay, we can buy them out. So that happened. So they bought everybody out, they invested, and now they own 65% of Kitchen Stories, and we still own 35%. And that happened last year in November. And since then, we have a corporate shareholder, which is interesting. So what do? We actually see that after all, everybody is doing a lot of things in the kitchen, and people tend to do stuff that they like. So if I don't like Indian food, I'm not cooking Indian recipes tomorrow. So we are currently evaluating different business scenarios and business revenue models in order to create a B2C feature, like a feature that we could sell to our customers on a monthly subscription base, where people are willing to spend 1, 2, 3 euros in order to show them new dishes. For example, if I'm only doing spaghetti bolognese, maybe I might want to do a spaghetti meatball next week. Or understand what techniques they know or how good their cooking level is. Because what's easy to me might not be easy to you guys, or other way around. I always wonder why. Let's say you go on Kitchen Stories, you go on Chef Koch, you go on All Recipes, you go on Cookpad, that's a Japanese company. There's no personalization in food yet. Go on Zalando, go on Amazon, people suggest you what you could make. With food, it's really, really easy to predict cooking behavior and to actually tell you that on a Tuesday night you might be wanting to do this and that, but nobody does that. Nobody is taking away that inspirational question. And there's a lot of things where we see benefit when it comes to monetizing our users in a way that they see a benefit. And that's what we're currently doing. So for example, last week we did a hackathon together with the BSH team in Munich, because they have like 20 people focused on machine learning, 10 people focused on speech recognition and voice. So we're really, really excited to put those 2 skill sets together and to also gain access to all of the customers and consumers that they already have. But still, sometimes I really want to be in 2025 and see where we're standing now, because I think if you're starting a company, you know that you're excited, hopefully excited about the market, that there will be room for a product and you need to iterate. Nobody really knows what technology is coming up. Like, nobody knew that the iPhone was introduced 10 years ago. And it changed every strategy, every digital strategy. So we believe there will be a space, and we believe that you have the best opportunity to find a place in the market if you do both content and tech, because all the publishers, they still see recipes as a PDF or Excel sheet. They don't think about structured data and all of those new fancy technologies. And we, at the end, don't care if cooking is going to be around augmented reality, if it's going to be around whatever screen on your whatever device. We just know we want to be first, and that we'll find a way to also monetize further. Yes, this is our team. We did a donut team photo, so everybody needed to choose their favorite donut, and we are also hiring. So if you know somebody who doesn't want to start a company, we have a couple of positions now. For example, product managers, head of product even. We're looking for people in the video team, for community managers, BI. Office management is apparently really hard to find, so if you know somebody who has a caring soul and wants to take care of all of us, let Max know. Max, he's here. That's our recruiter. And I know that everybody is looking for good people, so if you find somebody who gets hired by us, there will be a 500 euro reward. And not all of the jobs are on the website already. So yeah, come and speak to me or Max, or there's also Michi and Corinna from Team Kitchen Stories here tonight. So we are excited to meet all of you, and hopefully there were some interesting or not so interesting insights. I think it's one of my learnings is persistence, persistence, persistence. Don't give up. Nobody will believe in you, so you need to be the one not giving up. Thank you very much.
I can give you this mic. Yeah, I'll give it to you. And I'll take some questions. Oh, you've got it? Yep. Oh, God, it's going too fast. Okay, I'll go do a sweep like this.
Thank you very much for all the insights. It was very interesting. Could you tell us about your cooperation with the corporate? You seemed to have a funny reaction when you were talking about that. How has it been going?
Yes, so it's actually, we're still in a getting to know each other phase. So for example, Menting, my co-founder, she's right now in Munich for a 2-day workshop and trying to understand all of the projects that are going on in a corporate with 60,000 people. But why did we choose BSH is we have the same vision. So they want to build an open platform. They believe that it takes time and it takes a really, really good use case. And I think it's a really, really nice moment to finally not having to worry about the next funding round, that we know that we are now, I mean, we build a business case where we are breaking even. You don't know if it's happening or if you still need more money, could also be the case. Yes, so it's definitely a completely different phase in our company, and we really have a really good connection to the CEO, which I think is really, really important. But I think the one thing that you never know as a startup is what happens if the CEO changes. You also hear like horrible stories of, are you still as important? But we have seen the mindset within the whole corporate, and everybody at BSH is really engaged. Yeah, and we are happy. I mean, we are in Berlin, they are in Munich, so there's also a little bit of distance between us, because a lot of people are now really excited and they want to come and visit, but they also say like, no, do your own thing, don't get distracted, and yeah, so ask me again next year.
Thank you for the great presentation. That was really interesting. I have 3 questions. So first, at the beginning of the presentation, you talked about how you had 25K, but then you registered for a GmbH. Mm-hmm. So if you had 25K, why was that like the priority to register the company as a GmbH, or I don't know, why not try some other kind of registration or like mini game beer or something and use the money for something else. So that's the first question. So should I continue or wait?
It's real quick. You can spend the money the next day, which I didn't know before. So you can put on the 25K on the bank account, and then you can spend it again. And the good thing is, if you have the GmbH, and you call a customer, then it's not UG, Klammer auf, haftungsbeschränkt, which always looks like, okay, there's a guy putting 500 euros in, which is also okay. I don't think that it's making a large difference. But it was also the signal for us, because we needed the money anyways. So we thought, let's do the real thing directly.
So my second question, you talked about more having a better reach to be able to monetize your B2B business model right now. So have you tried more partnerships, like syndicating your content to, I don't know, CNN or other providers that have like this high quality content that you guys do? I mean, that would give you right off the bat like very large audience.
Yeah. Yes, we actually do syndicate our content. We even license it and get paid for it, which is good if it's Kitchen Stories branded. So we have a partnership with Axel Springer, and we also built a website last year. So we started mobile first, and then we went web, and now we are focusing a lot on SEO, which is a long-term game, and we started Pinterest as a new channel because a lot of recipe inspiration is taking part on Pinterest, and we don't want to start spending money on marketing until we are actually monetizing the user, because otherwise it's just money kind of lost. But yes, content syndication is one of the things that we do.
Thank you. Last question. So sorry. So regarding the corporate partnership, now I see that I guess you don't have to worry about money anymore. So you have this big vision, let's build connected devices and use your data and things like that. But do you have a feeling that you're losing this kind of focus, startup mentality you had before, where you could change a button in a few hours? Now you're thinking more long term, which is good, but do you have the feeling that maybe actually going out to the users and talking to them and finding out their pain points, maybe that's easier way to find a way to monetize them rather than thinking long term, I don't know, 20 years. And I hope you understand my question.
Yeah, it's understood. So I think the direction where we want to go, we've never been that sure about where we want to go, because we've tried a lot of things. Like we're trying media content that's really like clickbaiting, and the core of Kitchen Stories is cooking and helping people to cook. And the feature set, of course, we are like completely free in finding out what that is going to be. And this was also really important to us, that we are going to define the feature set and not somebody else. And that's also why we chose, because we also had like an offer from a company in the food sector. Like if it's a food product, it's way harder to be free. For us, we are still going to do the user tests and going to probably fail with 10 features and then finding one that might work. So it's not changing our roadmap. No.
Thank you.
Very interesting, thank you very much. My question is, at the beginning, you were founding your GmbH, and then you suddenly are in a Airbnb flat, making videos and making an app. It cost also money. So how did you do it? The app, mostly, I am interested in, because it's not so easy.
Yes, if you go to an agency, they will tell you 50,000 euros for an app. So we found that student developer, and we only booked him for 1 day a week, and we could afford him. He was like 200, 300 euros a day. So it was like 10, 20 days, so 5, 6, 7,000 euros for app development. And we worked with a really, really young and creative agency, so also students who were looking for their very first project. So we could also afford them. And the third case was like finding 2 chefs. And then we actually managed to pay everyone with the 25K. And we didn't, of course, pay any salaries, so we were still supported by our parents, which otherwise wouldn't have been working, because if you need to make a living and have that 25K as a budget, it wouldn't have worked. But that's why I also think it's interesting to start a company right after uni, because you don't need a lot of money. You can live with like 600, 700 euros. And we are paying our parents back now because we said, if we are going to fail, we will just find a job and then we will be paying you back. Yeah, so actually the 25K, that's all we used for the first app version. And then it helped to have the money, the revenue already from our product partners.
Wow, great risk, my admiration. Thank you.
Hi, firstly, thank you very much. So when you had the idea, like, what gave you the conviction to really like follow it? Like, was it like you were very confident and you had the conviction in the sense that you knew like it is the idea and I can execute it? Or was it like you had a day where you felt like, all right, I can do it, and the next day you're like, oh no, it's not going to happen? How was it like? And the second question would be, why give up 65% of the ownership of the company? Like, instead of like having the majority of the company and being able to sort of like make decisions on your own, you know, and direct the company.
So first question, actually, when you look into startup ideas, and that's what we did in between the burrito business and kitchen stories, you always get excited about the idea. And then you look into the business model and you look into the market. And then you always find more reasons why it won't work. You never get more excited about the idea the more you learn about the market. It's always the other way around. And ultimately, I believe in order to start a company, you need to be passionate about the idea, because if you just find a business model that's working in the US and you're copying it here and then it's not working, I wouldn't be the person working on an energy business at 2 a.m. if it's nothing that I'm interested about. I mean, there's also people that get motivated by a business model. We wanted to do something that we're passionate about in terms of topic. Did we know that it would work out? No. There's always more things going wrong than right. Like, I would even say 97% of the time. Like, customers not booking, investors saying no, people quitting, or you need to fire somebody. So that it's a complete challenge even today. About team, building structure, building a business. We're still fighting for everyone, like for every employee, for every customer. It never, ever, ever comes easy. But then, 3% of the time, it's just going really well. You have like Tim Cook here, or you have your funding round, or whatever, and you realize that stuff like that wouldn't happen anywhere else. So my recommendation is, you never know if the market is going to work. You can only give it a go. If you fail, you've learned so much more for your next company if you want to do another one. I personally believe I don't want to do another company because I don't want to go back to working until 4 a.m. and cleaning dishes. And I mean, you can also do different models, but I really appreciate the status where we are now, where it's like kind of okay working hours and everything, because it's tough. And if you don't be engaged, you give up. And that's why I also said the persistence thing. It's like a marathon and it's not a sprint. And of course we were like doubting all the time, like what if Apple didn't discover us? We would have need to find another way of bringing kitchen stories to people.
But initially, was the market big enough for you guys to sort of like go after it?
Yes, we think that 100% of people eat, and there will be a market for a good product helping you to eventually also cook at home. But I mean, it's all bullshit. Like if you put a market size on your slides, yes, of course, you shouldn't be doing like that one tiny little niche business where you can already see that only 2 people around the world would buy your product, but everything else, I've heard a lot of times from investors that people don't invest in the idea, but they invest in a team. Because the idea might not work out, but if you have a team and a market where there's potential, they will find a way. And nobody, after 5 years, has the same idea that it was in the beginning. We didn't care about data, about connected kitchen, about anything. We were just thinking about recipes and selling recipes.
Thank you very much for a great presentation. So I'm curious that, you mentioned that you started with 25,000 investment from friends, family, and fools, I believe you mentioned, and then you used that money to get the first bit of the product out. You were able to make revenue of 20,000, and then subsequently you started raising more capital. And you mentioned also that, you get that first investor on board probably after that first FFF round. And then things change, mindsets change, conversations change, perhaps. So why did you actually decide to move forward with a bigger round of investment from actual VCs, as opposed to trying to leverage that 20,000 or some way of just trying to make it work, where you were still maintaining the majority stake?
And this was also part of your second question. So I believe in order to grow a company, growth and profitability don't really go together. Like, first you need to invest in building the product, going on the iPhone, going on Android. You need to produce more content. If you win another partner, it takes them time to pay. So it's not a sustainable way to proceed. And I mean, I could have had 100% now of Kitchen Stories when there's like 50,000 users, or I could own 35% of the company. So I think it doesn't, you would rather have 1% of Facebook than 50% of StudiVZ. It doesn't really matter how small the stake is. It's all about how large the cake will be in the end. So I believe that in the beginning, I don't know any startup that's just profitable from the very early days and just been growing and has been able to build a really, really, really large business. If you know, do you? I don't know. I don't know them. Yeah. It's hard, yeah. And we decided that, yeah. So we needed that development resources. We needed an art director. We couldn't, our business model didn't make sense to monetize from the, just wire profitability. But yeah, of course, it's always nice if you have a business like this.
Hi, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. It was really nice. I have two questions. The first question is, your videos are really professional. Looks very professional and looks really nice. So I don't know, how did you manage to hire an art director for a lesser price? I don't know, because it's expensive. That's what I've heard in the television media. It's always. And the second question is for example, I want to start a startup, but it needs a lot of money. Even if you started with 25K, but for me, it needs a lot of money because I need to buy equipments for that. So what would you propose for a person like me?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, our art director, he was out of that student agency. So we were able to get him on board. And I mean, in the beginning, people don't work for you for the money. So we incentivized all of our core team members with shares. So we had a ESOP, a virtual employee stock option program, so people could participate in value creation. And you don't want to have the ones working for you that just make 10% more money than they would make anywhere else. Even today, if I hire people, I offer them less than what they're currently making in order to see if they really want to work at Kitchen Stories or if they're just going to work somewhere else, because you still need that spirit and that commitment. So that's how we were managing to get people on board really early. And second, I think a lot of businesses need money up front. What do? I think having a little bit of an MVP never hurts, thinking about something that you could code, or where you even do a mock-up or do a market validation where you speak to customers, etc., and then try to find that limited amount of money that it takes to have a little bit of a tangible product. So maybe you don't need 300, 400, 500K upfront. And I mean, if the idea is really great and people look in your Excel sheet and it makes sense, you can also raise 500K. Just a couple of business models, or what is also unfair in Berlin or anywhere is that a lot has to do with your traction as a founder. If you do your first company and you do okay, then people already know you, they are more willing to invest in you the second round. So people don't even build a pitch deck anymore because, oh, this guy has done Delivery Hero, so I'm going to invest in Marley Spoon. Like, that's really easy to raise money. So you really need to fight for that. How much money do you need for like the first product?
There are two things I need actually: technology and the equipments. Technology, since I'm a developer, I'm already doing on that.
Yeah.
But the equipment is very costly, so I don't know. Maybe I'll buy one equipment for now. Then
what is an equipment? I don't know.
Equipments like hardwares. I want.
Okay.
It's about the
Okay.
Maybe for example 50K
Okay.
or 100K. I don't
Maybe
know.
you can talk to somebody who has one and you can rent a little bit of it.
You mentioned that you got money from business angels and also that they gave input to the company. How did you find them and how, like, what criteria did you pick them on or make this decision?
Yeah, so we actually had a look into what capabilities we needed. We said mobile is important, media is important, strategy is important. So we were kind of looking into the cap tables of other companies, like on Gründerszene. And of course, we consolidated or consulted our network and we asked, like, who's a good investor? Because the worst thing is to have an investor who's never invested in a startup and then they call you up twice a day and ask for all the KPIs. And a good investor is there for you when you need them, but otherwise they leave you alone. So our two lead investors, Moritz and Verena from Fox and Sheep, they actually found us on the Apple App Store because they were also in the mobile business and they realized, oh my God, if you get an Apple feature straight away, it must be something good. So they invested in us. And then they also had their network coming in and we just also asked for introductions to people that we wanted to get on board. Because if you approach somebody without an introduction, then they most likely don't respond. And once you have the first investor on board with a little bit of a standing in the startup scene, it really comes easy. So I think the first traction, the first well-known investor, and then we just started off. And then for the VC round, we got Cherry Ventures, Point 9 Capital. We even got Bertelsmann on board, like Bertelsmann Digital Media Investments. So I think events like these are really helpful because now we can all connect. And if you want an introduction to some of my investors, I can help you if I like the idea or if I think it makes sense. Because you also need to, like, you can't shoot just 50 emails every evening to a person. But if I think there's, what's it? Yeah. Yes. So you need to always find a way, and then you can find a way to get to that person.
Couple left.
First of all, thank you very much.
Again, if somebody wants to look.
I think we realize there are mostly startups here, or like
but
startup
friends.
Founders. Oh yeah, founders. Friends, yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for the great presentation. I have a question about user research. That's something that you do. I didn't hear you mention is like how you conducted user research, whether you have conducted user research, like any kind of like, did you do the UX by yourself, or was it like the developer you hired, or the agency you said you worked with, or like what was the process of getting the customer experience and how you wanted to feel like?
Yeah. So because we wanted to build a product that we would want to use, Menting, I think she shouldn't have studied business because she's really good at UX and thinking about product and design. So she basically took a piece of paper and she was doing the first mock-ups and she told the design agency what to do. And after we launched, we of course then analyzed like what feature is being clicked, do people actually find a shopping list? We did a lot of user testing, so we invited people to our office and we asked them to cook. But we also did the Starbucks test. So we went into Starbucks and we gave people our app. And we said, hey, can you find that feature? And we just paid for their coffee in order to see how they would navigate throughout the app. And I think it's a continuous learning process of always trying to improve user experience, onboarding, because mobile is really hard. Like 50% of people who download the app, they open it once, they never come back. And you really need to work on getting the people to your product features really straightforward, like finding the first recipe, watching a video, and getting them to cook. Because for us, if people cook a recipe, then they are like recommending it to their friends, coming back. And I think this is like one of the main challenges, retain users and find new users. Yeah.
A small follow-up question.
Yeah.
So that's what brought you to the target audience, or you had the target audience that you mentioned before? Did you have it in mind before that it's going to be mostly female, like high-paid people, or is it something that you learned?
So for us, the target audience, yes, we never wanted to be like female or male, so we kind of knew that already. But in terms of the use case, we wanted to not only be for beginners or like professionals, so for the everyday cooking experience. The target audience kind of came with our Apple upcoming and rising. Of course, you always want to have like a high income user. But I mean, the user that you have and the user that you want to have, sometimes nothing that you can decide.
How do you know what's the income of the user?
So we did surveys, and also we got a lot of data from Facebook Analytics. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I guess we can also just hang around a bit and get to know each other. But yeah, thank you so much, Verena, for the insightful talk.
Thank you, guys.
Que la famille.